Welcome back. Let's talk about what's playing out in, we can call it neighboring Ghana, but there are one or two countries before Ghana, but we always call it neighboring Ghana because we're big brothers by many sides. But it seems to be this friendly love sometimes gets out of hand, and then we see a situation. So as a background, we see people protesting and using the, signage of Nigeria must go. I'm sure you remember the Ghana must go situation in '83 under Shehu Shagari's government. And so time and again, these things happen. We've been at each other, aliens in that sense, trying to expel one another for whatever reason there is. And this has generated some diplomatic tension. But our Honorable Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Bianca Ojukwu, had gone to Ghana and, they've doused that tension. But we need to get to the crux of the matter, why this happens as much as it happens and what is playing out at the background. But the best persons to tell us this are people that are Ghanaians themselves. So give us a backstory. We're being joined by an honored personality with Star FM and the PR strategist, Sog Precious. He joins us virtually from Accra, Ghana. Welcome to the program. Precious.
Hi, brother. How are you?
I'm very well, Precious. Good morning and welcome to the program. Naturally they say when we land in Accra, they say Akwaba, but I will only say good morning for now. But let's just talk about what you make of what is playing out between Nigeria and Ghana. Maybe give us your own understanding of the backstory here. We're brothers. We do things together. We banter. We're at each other. But when things degenerate like this, we need to have an inner room conversation. What exactly is going on?
Okay, thank you so much. And I'd actually want to greet everyone that is watching Channels TV today. Yeah. So I think on Tuesday, there was a demonstration right here in Ghana where the demonstration actually was built from a few happenings that has happened in recent times. It actually drew from the recent killings that has been happening, abduction, killings, and also one of the highlights that has brought this about is prostitution. I mean, it is one of the highlights of the demonstration. And so away from the killings, prostitution, amongst many others. But I believe that the protest sent a message, and the message was very clear that Ghanaians are kind of fed up with some characters or some Nigerians that are living in Ghana. I would state for a fact that lots of Nigerians in Ghana are actually living in the country and our good behavior. I personally would attest to the fact that I have a few Nigerian people that are very law-abiding. Myself, I manage a Nigerian comedian right here in Ghana, Paramount, who is doing splendid for the country. But I'd like to also highlight that lots of these killings and these prostitution accusations are very open and clear that Nigerian names are actually leading. And I think this is one of the reasons why the Ghanaian community actually thought it wise that they would have to protest. I think one of the highlights of this entire protest is in recent times, there was a video that went viral where there was a Nigerian man who lives in Ghana who mentioned that he had acquired a huge land in Ghana and he's the Igbo king in Ghana. Sorry, Igbo king in Ghana. Igbo actually means something else. He's the Igbo king in Ghana. And that actually sparked a lot of controversies when it actually comes to the Ghanaian community. So the people of Ghana feel that they have been too good of a people that the few Nigerians are trying to take advantage of their kindness. So I think basically that is what has ignited this whole protest. Also, I think that it is more of like a retaliatory bit from what happened in '83. So I think that is what is playing on now. But I believe that as authorities have come from Nigeria to come have engagement, I believe that everything would actually come to a good end. Ghanaians love Nigerians, Nigerians love Ghanaians, but I believe that the few killings and things that are happening are quite heartbreaking, and I believe that is what has made the Ghanaian community rise up. And I hope that this will be sorted out in due time and we get our stuff going again, basically.
That's so precious. I like the way you, landed on your commentary, talking about the love for, both countries by both, citizens of both countries. But some other important issues also came up from some of the things that you have said, and I'd just quickly like to follow up with it, because I've also heard these comments on other platforms about, what some people consider to be ethnic profiling. You talk about prostitutions, you talk about killings, and you say it's clear that, Nigerians are participating in these vices. But is this data-driven? Perhaps, by information provided by some of your institutions in Ghana, perhaps the police force, or other social groups in Ghana? Is it backed by data such that we can avoid the mine of ethnic profiling?
Exactly. Okay, so that is actually a thoughtful question, and I like to say that it is actually data proven. It is backed by data, and I would say this with regards to a few documentaries that have gone on in the media space, one, and also earlier this year, when you get to a few of the spots that are known for prostitution, there have been a lot of arrests that have happened there, and a lot of times when people are Nigerian, you can't force it actually. The accent gives them out. I mean, you ask the people themselves, they are like, I'm from Calabar. And to an extent, you would realize that there are siblings that have actually been transported from Nigeria to Ghana. There are videos all online that shows that people have moved, like especially younger girls have moved from Nigeria to Ghana. And I mean, this data is actually scattered all around the internet where we could get it. And so I don't think it is more of like a stereotype. I believe that it has been occurring over time, and it is very backed by data. I mean, the evidences are there, the imprints are there online. You go to the Ghana Police Service and you realize that almost half of the more than half of the prostitutes that have been arrested are Nigerians, and also some killings that have happened even in the past 3 years, like dating back 3 years, 2 years. You'd realize that there are Nigerian names that are very prominent in those killing reports. And also there are even houses in Ghana that the landlords would not want to give their rooms out to Nigerians, not because they are actually tribal or whatever it is, but from the track record of how Nigerians leave the homes and all that. But like I mentioned earlier, these are characters of some individuals that is actually denting the entire Nigerian scene in Ghana, basically.
Now, in order for this to be reliable information, I would appreciate it if you can share some of the data with us so that we can be specific in our reference. But you also mentioned that an individual involved, has been featuring also the one parading himself as a king of a particular tribe in Ghana. Is he perhaps one of those that the ministers have been meeting with? That's Nigeria's Minister of State and Ghana's minister. And what can you tell us about what is coming out of this engagement with him and perhaps others involved?
Okay, so with regards to the Igbo conversation, the Igbo King conversation, I believe that when the video came out, I think the video is actually an old video, actually. And when it came out, we had an uproar in Ghana. I mean, the chiefs, the Ghanaian chiefs of the community where they did the video from, I think it was Pram, if I'm right. they actually stood up and they were like, the Nigerians are taking over, blah, 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 and all that, their town and all that. But the man in question actually mentioned that it is no more of like an official Igbo king title. It is actually the peace Nigerian people around that have decided to actually name him as a king. And I think our Ministry of Foreign Affairs had a meeting with him after that video went viral, and they had to trash out stuff. So probably, I'm sure you could see some videos online where he met the foreign minister, Honorable Okudzato Ablakwa. And Honorable actually mentioned that he should be guided with his words, so it doesn't look like it is official from the Ghanaian community. Fine, there are pictures where probably he might have met dignitaries and all that, because he's lived in Ghana for very long. He's married to a Ghanaian woman. He has Ghanaian children. He's done a lot of transactions in Ghana and all that. But it is not an official title. And yes, he meets with officials and all that. But the very recent meeting with the foreign minister is not a meeting to endorse his kingship or rulership. It was actually a meeting to brief on whatever is happening and to actually let him know that this is not official and he should know how to go about his stuff. So basically, I think that is what has actually evolved with regards to the Igbo king title and everything that's happening. Yeah.
All right. I'm looking through data and I see a national study that was conducted puts the number of female sex workers in Ghana to be 60,000, and that's as of 2020, and that's almost 1 in 100 of estimated adult female population aged between 15 to 49, and that's in Ghana, and that's a study, and I'm sure you've probably seen that. Now speak to us about the demand, because there wouldn't be supply if there isn't a demand. So really, is this a challenge about the so-called sex workers, or the men who have a very high appetite for it? And I'm trying to use the right words here. So shouldn't that be the real issue? That why are you making demands? Because if there's no demand, supply is going to dry up. I'm sure you appreciate that in economics.
Okay, so I think I didn't hear the question entirely, but I heard you mention demand, especially when it comes to the sexual workers bit. I don't know if you could be actually clear about it. Apologies, I didn't hear that well.
No problem, I'll take it again. My question is on, yes, the demand bit, because it looks like the attention is on the women, which, by the way, is widespread. And I give data that there's about 60,000 plus sex workers in Ghana as of 2020. It's a national survey that was carried out, and it's not just isolated to people of a certain national, the Ghanaians as well in that survey. So I want you to speak to the demand, because there are men who are demanding for it. So shouldn't the attention be on those people who have a very huge appetite for such ventures?
I think it is a general thing that sexual immorality is on the rise. It's actually on the rise generally, and I think that is basically what is making these demands actually rise. But I do not have any data to back that. But I believe that I think it is just it is sexual immorality that is making lots of men actually go in for prostitutes, and I think it is away from the fact that economics actually mentions that when the demand is high, blah, 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 and all that. But I think that it is also because the services are readily available. I think if I would not mince words, I think there are about 2 to 3 prostitutional sites that I personally know of, like in town, that are booming. There are places that take as high as I can't mention, but I mean, it is actually in demand. But all these are things that the government in Ghana is actually working very hard to curb. And I believe that in due time, when everything is in place, it would actually be sorted out. Basically, I don't know if I answered the question though.
Well, sort of, but I'm saying that in the thinking, in the conversations that have been going on, is there There's a line that says, what about the people demanding for it? Because I imagine that the sex workers, who can be from any nationality, I've seen data pointing to Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, of course, Ghanaians would have a majority of that. So why isn't the conversation also saying, you people that are going there, you should not go there. They are not forcing you to go there. It's not under compulsion or duress. Nobody puts a knife to their neck or a gun to their heads. You get what I'm saying, and that's the point. Is there a conversation to also balance it and say, demand should stop, stay in your house?
I think I've not actually had any direct conversation or communique that is mentioning that people should stop going to these sports or to actually stop demanding for these services. But I believe that the religious bodies in Ghana are actually doing that, preaching against immorality. I mean, preaching against unprotected sex. I mean, trying to let people know that prostitution is actually not the way and all that. But I personally, I may be wrong, but I personally have not heard any initiative that is actually going directly mentioning that don't visit these prostitutional sites, reduce their demand, or don't. I mean, I've not heard anything directly like that, but I think I have seen campaigns on the other end of the givers of the service that should actually not be giving out prostitution or be going to prostitution and all that. But for the demand, I beg to differ. I've not like had any agenda or any campaign like that, basically.
Precious, maybe it's a free market situation, free service, free for the person who wants to demand, free for the person who wants to give. It's a very notorious conversation in that direction. But let's talk about something we can actually explore, which has to do with the trade. We talked about, to help us understand, is there also the controversy or the antagonism against people that are doing petty trading, you know, small businesses in Ghana? Because we've heard that they've said, look, some of these informal sectors, why don't you leave it for us? Why are you all over the place, Nigerians? You want to take off even our informal sectors that, you know, we used to drive the enterprise within our space. You too want to come and, you know, populate that space and subsume us. Is there also a fact in that part of the story?
Okay, so I think as far as my memory can serve me, somewhere early last year, it was not last year, it will be last 2 years, I think there was a communique that went around that people, foreigners, not necessarily Nigerians, foreigners that are actually trading in Ghana would have to get some kind of accreditation, which actually is everywhere. Now we know the Nigerian factor of business. I mean, Nigerians are very domineering when it comes to business. They try everything to actually get you to buy from them. So there is actually a focal marketplace here in Ghana called Circle. Circle, we sell everything that's sellable, but what's dominant there is actually the sales of phones. And I think somewhere last year, there was a ban on lots of the shops in Circle because they didn't have the necessary accreditation, or they didn't have the necessary documents to sell. And you'll be surprised that when the shops of the Nigerians were closed, virtually about 60% of business was closed there. That actually shows how open the Ghanaian market is with regards to the Nigerians that are doing business in Ghana. There are lots of prominent businesses here in Ghana that are owned by Nigerians. And I think with regards specifically to what you asked, trade, I think the Nigerians are doing so well when it comes to trade here in Ghana. And I don't think there is a stereotype or there are strict laws that are barring them from operating their businesses and their trades. And I think that the only thing I heard was what happened last year, where when you don't have the right documentation and accreditation, you might not be able to open the shop. The Accra Metropolitan Assembly, all the authorities that were in charge actually closed the shops. And I think now they are all opening back. I mean, all of the shops that are owned by Nigerians are now operating very well, and I think everything's moving smoothly. for trade, I don't think there's a challenge in recent times.
So, Precious, OAP with Star FM and PRO strategist, thank you so much for bringing perspective to this conversation. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, honestly. You guys are rocking. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. And then from there, I forgot to add a bit of Ghana jollof versus Nigerian jollof. That's always a way to douse things. Well, I would have told the line of former Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, who separated the fight by saying it's Senegal, not Ghana, no.